Hello and welcome to the Indie Incursion Podcast. I am the ghost formerly known as Von Hyde. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host Josh, and today I actually kind of fulfilled a requirement of having a podcast about indie games and indie devs. I actually have an indie dev on the podcast. We have Greg Lobanov. Hopefully I said your name right. It's an issue on this podcast. He is the developer of Wandersong. How you doing today?
I'm doing just wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you excited about this interview today?
Yeah, sure. I like talking about Wandersong. It's like my favorite thing.
I would assume it's your favorite thing.
Yeah, I would hope so. Put so much time into it. Might as well like it, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
I've always kind of wondered that about indie devs. Like, that sounds kind of odd. I've wondered that about game devs entirely, if they enjoy their own games. I would assume you have to. But I was like, I just find that kind of an odd question to ever ask in an interview. How about that? Hey, do you enjoy your own game? Have you actually played through your own game?
I haven't. Yeah, actually, okay. I wouldn't have, but I think I did end up playing through it. Like the way that I experience it as the person who makes it is very like piecemeal, you know, because I make every little piece bit by bit, and like I watch other people play it a lot for sure. I don't know that I've actually sat down and played it from beginning to end on one save file, like, ever. I'm not sure if I've done that. I've played every part of the game, like, 100 times or whatever, but I don't know if I've done, like, the full experience. But I do like it. I like Wandersong a lot. Like, obviously, I'm super crazy about it. I think that, like, I've done a lot of different kinds of games before. I know that, like, I made a roguelike game before I made Wandersong, and that one, like, of all the games I've worked on, was probably the most fun for me because it, like, even now, it's still, like, surprising, you know? Like, I can see situations I haven't seen before because it's kind of generated by not myself. Like, something like Wandersong, which is, like, always the same every time, I think that's easy to get sick of, and, you know, it's, like, it's, like, a jokes game, so once you know the jokes, I mean, I still think it's great, but, like, I think that it kind of has a different kind of shelf life to it than a roguelike game for someone who made it, I guess. Like, Wandersong, it's like, for me, like, looking into a mirror or something. Like, it's very, it's just that one image that's just me. So, I still like it. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a piece of you.
Yeah.
It's your sense of humor.
Yeah, but, like, it's kind of like reading, it's probably closer to, like, reading a book or watching a movie in the sense that, like, it's like a known quantity of an experience, so I don't know. Yeah, it's probably closer to like how those people experience their own artwork. I don't know. That was a long-winded answer.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, a long-winded answer is nice. You said you created games before. Any like really notable titles that just roll off the tongue, or are these like?
Definitely not notable, but I've done like my first like breakout game maker hit was called Assassin Blue in like 2008, 2009. I was just reminiscing about that because I was realizing that the 10-year anniversary is coming up really soon. And then I made a bunch of other games. I did one called Phantasmagoria. That was like a suburban JRPG about ghosts in 2012. That was kickstarted. And then Coin Crypt was my last, like, it was like a roguelike game. That was in early access for a couple years. It was a roguelike card game. That one came out in, like 2013. But yeah, it was 2013 early access, and then 2014 it came out for real. And then I biked across America, and then I made Wandersong. And there's a lot of other games in between there that people would care even less about. But those are like the most notable ones, probably. Yeah, I've been doing games for like over 10 years now.
Wow, that's really interesting. How did you fall into this style of genre after all of those different types? It sounds like you've done a little bit of everything. What really brought you towards doing something like Wandersong?
My very first games that I did were really story-based games, or kind of like it'd be a Zelda-like, or like Assassin Blue is kind of like a platformer. I guess that is like Wandersong actually. But yeah, they were all like story-based games, and I was really interested in that kind of like, I don't know, yeah, just telling cool stories in games. So that's what got me into it in the first place. Phantasmagoria was like my last really big story game in 2012. That was 6 years ago. Woo. And that one, like, that was the last game where I spent like a long, it was like 2.5 years or something, like a really long development cycle. I put a lot of myself into it. And like most games that come out in general, like it didn't do like amazing or anything. It didn't blow up or whatever. It was just like a little RPG, but it put a lot of like time and effort into it. And like even, you know, I think that like there was some disconnect. Like I felt like kind of disappointed. Like I think that was around like Indie Game the movie came out, and I guess I had this idea in my head of like, oh wow, like making a really cool like game that you spend all this time on like is a worthwhile thing, and like that's the kind of thing that could blow up and a million people could fall in love with your game or whatever. And that didn't happen for me. And I think like there was just kind of this like moment of awareness of like, oh wow, like it's not that easy. Like you have to actually, I don't know, yeah, like I don't know, yeah, there's a lot of luck involved, or like you have to make something that people really want and yada yada. But that got me kind of interested in like, I guess, exploring different kinds of game design. Like making story games is a really lengthy, really personal journey, and I started to think like, maybe like I need to get better as a game. Like I'm coming into this as a storyteller, but I think what I need to do is like learn how to be a better game designer. So I spent a lot of time making like, I made puzzle games, and I made like a mobile slingshot shoot 'em up that actually was really cool. And I like puzzle games. I made like kind of like a weird Metroidvania mobile game as well. Like just a bunch of random stuff. Basically just trying to like explore like different kinds of genres and gameplay styles, and like not emphasize story, but think about just how to make a game that's good on its own merit without like, I don't know, characters or story stuff. And then Wandersong, to finally answer your question, I felt like I was kind of coming full circle. I was trying to marry like all of that, like my passion, which is to tell stories, and I was trying to marry that with like all this kind of game design sensibility and learning that I'd accrued over years of experimentation. Trying to make something that was like used really good game design and was really fun and cool game mechanics in support of telling a story, basically. So that's how I came to that.
All right, wow, that's quite an answer.
Yeah. Oops.
Let me ask you this about basically all that. So out of all of those elements, what was really the inspiration that caused you to use the color wheel platform? So everything is based in this game on that color wheel for all the different pitches. How did you land on that? Was that something you knew specifically while writing that you were going to do something like that, or was it just kind of as you went on, that mechanic just built into the system?
That was the very first idea that the whole game started from. So everything was decided in relation to the fact that there was going to be a color music wheel. Like, yeah, literally, like the first thing, like I had an idea, like, oh, like I wonder if there could be a game about, like, actually, the idea was like, could I make a controller into a musical instrument? And then I made like a little prototype that was just like a blank void, like a gray screen, and I made like the little rainbow wheel on there, just like a really like simple input test thing. And then I just played, with that, with the controller, and I was like, made little like music with this like the rainbow wheel floating in the void, and I was like, this is really cool. And then I started to have ideas about just like an entire game that just grew out of that little wheel. So yeah, everything, like literally everything, and like that's the one like seed in this game that everything else is based on.
That's a really small seed to base a game on. That's awesome. I never had expected that. That's really sweet. I personally like love the kind of weird color wheel. I feel like it goes with everything in the game. Like everything just seems a little weird and just really interesting. I don't know why I love that so much, but did you ever expect? So I had this moment while playing Wandersong where I was just in the first town, and so you have it to where there's just a normal like song overlay, but then when you actually start to like sing, it'll change the tempo and it just changes the song pretty much. Like it just changes in an interesting way. Has anybody ever told you that they just like sat there and listened to the music of your game for like an extended period of time?
I'm pretty sure people have. Yeah, there's a lot of parts of the game where like we kind of made it to do that. Like I think a lot of people's favorite bit. One of my favorite bits, just like you've beaten it, right? You've played through it.
I haven't. Yeah, Josh has.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, so I'll just say there's areas of the game where we kind of like intentionally designed it to do that, where like just sitting still and listening to music for a bit is kind of like a fun thing to do, and as a contrast to singing and running around. So yeah, we thought a lot about like the audio experience of this game was always in our minds. It's just like how to make each area, like how to make, obviously how to make cool music, but also how to have interesting interactions between like the player input and the music, and making each area have like a distinct sound to it and be fun to just like hang out in and listen to. Yeah. our sound designer who did like she did like audio, like sound effects, not music, but she actually did a lot of work with that as well. Like we kind of like found like this is stuff that I didn't think about at all, but she thought a lot about like finding areas of the game, like making areas of the game where there were no music, like places you could go to where it would get really quiet, or just places where the music would be like quieter or louder, or like, you know, kind of emphasizing different elements of the audio so that people could kind of like over the course of the journey, like go through like different really different feeling spaces, and also kind of find places where they were comfortable in to kind of sit around and just play with stuff. So yeah, all of that was thought about. And I think definitely people like have had that experience or similar experiences with it.
I'm glad I'm not just the weird one who sat there and listened to the music for a while. That's really nice for me, at least. So you've obviously heard from a lot of people, and we briefly talked about before we actually started recording that you've checked out reviews for Wandersong and everything. What kind of like response did you expect to see from Wandersong? And I don't know, do you enjoy the response? Which is kind of a weird thing to ask, just because you had spoken about your other games and how it's kind of hard to make like an indie hit.
Yeah.
Did you expect it to kind of? I would say this game's blown up. Like, people are talking about it.
People are definitely talking about it. I'm definitely have been overwhelmed. My expectations were really low for actually for review specifically. I honestly, because the game is so not like other games, I just kind of assumed like, oh, most reviewers are just gonna be like, well, like it's a weird game, so like, I don't know, 6 out of 10, like not enough spikes or something, you know, like we actually do get reviews. Well, no one we get reviews who write stuff like that. We don't get bad reviews who write stuff like that. I'm really happy to say that a lot of reviews are like, this game like isn't really hard and doesn't have any spikes, but actually it's not bad, so like 8 out of 10. But that's way higher than
they very specifically are looking for spikes.
I think no, honestly, okay, there's been some really I don't know, people say some things in interviews that I just disagree with, but yeah, no, basically, yeah, people like the game, people connected with the story way more than I expected to. People like enjoy the game way more on average than I expected them to. I kind of thought it would be a really niche, like some people are going to hate this game and some people are going to love this game, and in general it seems like most people just really like it. I haven't seen people who hate it, and there are definitely people who like had their expectations subverted by the game's kind of like style or difficulty or whatever, but yeah, like people in general seem to like it a lot more than I expected. That's been nice. Yeah, in general, I love the reaction that people have had. Like, it's really fucking awesome, actually. Like, it's funny too. Like, we don't have like, it's still a niche game. We actually don't have a huge audience. Like you said, like it's blown up. It's interesting because yeah, I think the average Wandersong player is way more active and way more vocal about playing it than just the average video game player is. So we have this appearance of having like a really huge active audience where it's actually not as big as it seems. But it is true that like there is just an overwhelming just like wave of positivity from all over the place for this game, and that's what I love about. I mean, that's like, I actually said this many times, like when we were kickstarting and before it came out, just like, to me it was always more important that like I wanted to make something that people really loved. And you know, it was like, if only 10 people play this game and those 10 people like it's their favorite game ever, like that would be way better to me than like 1 million people play this game and no one cares about it, you know, just like they play it and they forget about it. I would so much, and I have, and I'm so much happier to have like just a few people who play this game and go crazy for it. Like that's really what I wanted, and that really makes it kind of feel worth it. That, you know, I made this game that really resonated with at least somebody, and in this case, it seems like it resonated with a lot of people. So I'm really happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to tag on to that point, like that was one of the things that I had to change my mindset of when I was going into the game initially, because, and I put it in my review and I've talked about this at the start of the game, it does seem a little slow just because it isn't a normal game. It's not really a game. I think of it more as, with certain games, you have it more as like an art form. It is a story. That's what you're playing this game for. Once I was hooked into the story, that's really what kept me going. You know, there are elements to it, but it's not going to be, you know, your next Call of Duty, your next something crazy. Right. And that's fine. That's not what it tries to be, and that's what I definitely respected about the game, and what I did enjoy the most was, I'm playing this for that interesting storyline, for that, the hardship of the bard going through trying to actually become the hero even though he's not supposed to be.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. I'm glad that worked for you too. Yeah, I just didn't expect that. I really didn't.
One of the things I'll pin back on that is, so I'm just looking through some of the screenshots that I was taking and some of the things while I was playing the game. Is there any inspiration from a theater perspective? And the only reason I ask this is because of the way you chunk this out into acts, as well as at the end when you beat the game, you get to go back into all of the different ones, and it kind of is drawn out kind of like it's on a stage, so to speak.
I think the theater stuff was more just a really useful, visual motif to communicate stuff, I did want to split the game into chapters, and there were a couple other ideas that floated around, but, the theater kind of, I don't know, motif seemed to just work, it fits with the game really well because it's a musical, so that just seemed to make sense, and then it just kind of helps to, communicate things like, you're in a new chapter of the game, and that kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah. So it wasn't I've, when I was in high school, I did the musical stuff or whatever. I was in theater performances. I liked that stuff. But I wouldn't say that it was I think it fit in. Yeah. Just more as a useful information communicator for this one.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So something I did want to ask you about just overall the development of Wandersong, and I guess possibly the reception of it. What would you say the most difficult part of it was, just in general? Was it, I don't know, in my head I would say the most difficult part of making a game is waiting to see how people react to it. But I don't know, what was the most difficult part of putting out Wandersong?
Or you mean or the difficult part of
or just
making
the
it, right?
development of it in general?
I mean, there definitely was a long period of waiting for it to come out, or not long. Well, it feels like forever, but yeah, I remember that being kind of well, okay, I would say even harder than that for this game was the process of how do I put it? I mean, I was gonna say writing, but it's not really just writing because it's for this game, the story and kind of the way the way the game unfolds is completely based on the story. So, making decisions about story is really making decisions about, every other part of the game. But there was kind of this, to make a game like Wandersong in 2018 was, for me, just a really memorable challenge with it because, from the outset, our goal was to make something that was really, our goal was to make something that felt optimistic and felt really honest. Those are our two big things that I wanted to marry together, was with the feeling of the story. And it feels like lately we've been in a world where those two things are not possible at the same time. It's there were a lot of specific things in the game that I wanted to kind of talk about and address. Where I don't know. Basically just the real world has been so depressing lately, and so to make a game that's trying to say, hey, I know the world's depressing, but also what if it was happy, what if it didn't feel so bad, that's just a really challenging, it was really challenging to find that voice sometimes with just, yeah, I guess how to tell the story in a way that people felt wasn't hand waving away real world problems, but also still found something positive in the end to say, or something something positive to take away. That was really hard, just because it felt just in conflict with what the world around us was kind of doing. But at the same time, I actually feel because we did that, I feel a lot happier with the story. I think I'm proud of what we kind of landed with, and I do feel we kind of did the best we could to do that, and I feel the story really benefited as a result, and for me personally, it gave me a lot. It gave me a really useful kind of perspective to look at real life events from, because when I was making this game, Wandersong was always my filter that everything kind of passed through. So when things got really shitty, I always had Wandersong to kind of filter the world through and be okay, but how does Wandersong talk about this, or how does this experience fit into Wandersong? That was kind of useful for me. So yeah, but that
yeah, you're just channeling kind of your life experiences into Wandersong, but I don't know, trying to make it like more optimistic and happy.
Yeah, or just not trying to make it, but trying to find the optimism that was there. Because I didn't want to just like lie and say something is happy when it's not. But that's what made it hard. Is like I'm trying to like be honest, and I'm also trying to like be happy.
Yeah, it's often that the two are not easy in the world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that you haven't played up to this point, Vaughn, because basically what he's describing is so elegantly put in the discussion between the two main characters in this game. So it's really interesting to hear the backstory of it being even a therapeutic element to yourself as opposed to what you give off to the audience. Just because, that's one of the moments, those are, one of the reasons why I did connect with this game is, everyone has tough things in their life, and sometimes it's not easy to put a smile on. And it's the whole fact of, Miriam talking with the bard and saying, I don't understand how you can always be so positive about these things, and trying to, see the light in what is happening around you. So it's a really good message throughout the game that, for anything, if that's the takeaway, is definitely worth it.
Cool, thank you.
Specifically on the subject of Wandersong and what has come of it on those expectations as far as a response, I kind of wanted to talk about, where do you see the next steps for Wandersong? So what's next now that you've had this somewhat great success from the audience that you have? Where does that lead to?
Well, we're definitely looking at other platforms, but I can't say anything specific. And we're also looking, actually, so like the reason why I was 5 minutes late for this interview, I'm working on making translations possible as well. Translations I'm excited about those because we have a lot of people around the world who are excited about the game. So I want to be able to like give it to people in more languages. This game is really challenging to translate though. So like this is not even like I'm still figuring things out basically. Like I'm making it technically possible to translate, but to actually translate it is like such a monumentous task because the word count is so huge. And yeah, like we're still at that, like we're not like huge yet. So like the cost of translating to one language is actually like pretty significant for us. And so we have to like take each one, we have to take it seriously basically. We have to make sure that we like pick languages that will like pull a profit based on how much it costs us to translate. So we're still figuring that kind of stuff out. But I want to do it. So that's what we're working on right now. And hopefully more merch too. I want to do more merch as well. I love merch.
Oh my gosh, we're two birds of a feather. Yeah, suck it, Josh. Freaking everybody likes physical media. I do actually have a question, since we're talking about the future plans of Wandersong, and since you're a kind soul who loves merch as much as I do, do you have any like plans to possibly release Wandersong physically, whether through something like limited run games, or there are a couple different publishers that do it, like Sodesco or Nicholas?
We are definitely interested in that possibility, and I think that's all I can say.
You sure you don't just want to totally blow up your future plans on a podcast that nobody's gonna listen to?
I don't think so. It's like everything like just as a blank, like I love physical stuff, I love merch, like I want to do it all. Where at this point, like I think everything's possible. It's like the only obstacle is just like, contract stuff and figuring out who's the best to work with, and figuring out, just like with the languages, like what makes the most sense for where we are and what we can accomplish, and what like was like what's worth the cost basically. So like those are the questions we have, but like within those bounds, yeah, like I want to do everything, so we're gonna try.
So I actually just randomly, like right before we started to do this interview, I was like looking up on a bunch of different sites that I go on frequently. There's merchandise on like fangamer.com.
Yeah.
How involved were you guys actually in that? Do you like help design the merchandise, or just basically anything behind that? Because I've always wondered how that worked.
Because I think Yes, I was involved, and I think that I was probably involved more than most people, just from talking to people about this stuff. I think that I actually was more involved than most people usually are, because I just fucking love merch so much. And like I am a huge like Fangamer fan. Like I grew up on Earthbound, and like when Fangamer first launched as like the Earthbound fan store, like that's like I was there then, and I was crazy about it then because they had the best Earthbound merch. And then like to see them grow into making like the best merch for everything, and now to be making merch for Wandersong is like totally like out of my like totally mind-blowing dream come true kind of thing. So I was just really excited to be on there, and I wanted to like do it right. But the process, like the designers they have there, so like I worked with someone who worked at Fangamer as a designer basically. We gave them copies of the game. A lot of the people on their team kind of played it, and then like somebody on their team who liked it a lot kind of came back to us with some ideas of just like, I want to do like a couple things in this style. And then she, you know, like basically from there was just like a iterative process. Like she'd give us sketches. I'd be like, oh, like I like this part, but can we change this part? And then she'd go back, change more things, come back to us with more ideas and more sketches, and basically that. Yeah. So it was like really like the designer there kind of did like all the groundwork. Like I never like put down a brush or anything or picked any colors or anything. Like she did all the actual work. But I was always kind of like active in seeing her process, seeing her designs, and giving comments, and like working together to try to make like the best looking thing that we could. Yeah. There were some really fun, like the angel pin that we have in Fangamer was a really, really fun project. Like we had some fun questions for that. I don't know if I should. Oh, I guess I'll spoil this. I'll spoil this.
Ooh,
so we had. There was a really, really fun question that came up because we had two really big ideas for the pin. So we knew it was going to be like a rainbow colored pin. And so we weren't sure. What we ended up going with was like this rainbow plating, which looks gorgeous. And I'm really happy with that decision. It's like this super reflective, like kind of gasoline spill thing where like you change the angle and the colors kind of shift. But we were really close to in thinking about making it a mood ring instead, so that her hair like would change colors based on like your body temperature when you touched it, which would have been super cool, but we didn't do it because I feel like people don't touch pins very much. But I was this close to doing that, and we still might. I kind of want to come back to it and maybe do like a mood, like an actual ring or something with that design. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I want to do that. I want to do everything.
Trust me, if you put out a mood ring or anything else, I'll buy it.
Sweet.
I have an issue with buying physical media. I have like 5 copies of Hyperlight Drifter because I just like the cover art of the different ones.
Wow.
I don't know why. I'm just a weirdo in general.
I'm making a note.
Asked you that. Yeah, you're like, put out 5 different cover arts and this kid will buy it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I asked that question just because there are different sites that have come up. Like there's Yeti,
yeah,
they do the limited print stuff, and I've heard weird stuff about that. Like the reason they do limited prints is so they don't get sued because they don't actually have the rights for anything. But I'm not even sure if that's true.
Whoa, I hadn't
probably
heard that.
Just a rumor. But
we work with Yeti as well. Yeti actually has more merch on it than Fangamer does for Wandersong. I've really, really liked working with them as well. So. I haven't heard. I haven't heard that rumor, and I don't know if maybe it's true. I don't know. I can't comment, but I know just for me as an indie working with them, they've been really good to work with. I'm really happy with like our relationship, and the merch they have there is like phenomenal as well.
There you go. You just dispelled the rumor. They're not, dude. Some sketchy shit underneath the table.
At least not to me.
So you actually said earlier, and I didn't know this at all until okay, this is going to sound weird. I literally just Googled you because I wanted to make sure I was spelling your name correctly. I don't know why. I just looked at the million times that I had spelled it, but I just was like, oh, I want to Google it real quick. And then I saw, yeah, you took like a massive bike ride across the United States, and that's kind of what inspired Wandersong. Yeah. How did any of that, what makes you want to take like a massive bike ride of all things?
Good question. I don't know. At the time, like I was at like I was in college at the time, and I'd been working on games like already for like a lot of years, and pretty much I guess I had this feeling of like a chapter closing in my life. Like my apartment lease was coming up, and I was graduating from school, and my game was like my newest biggest game was coming out, and I was kind of like, I kind of want to just like do something different, because I've been kind of on this one track for a long time. I really feel like I've been kind of railroaded myself. Like I had kind of an eye-opening moment when we had like there's a game dev community in Philadelphia, which is like where I lived at the time, and we were organizing like a talent show. So it was like, oh, like, we all hang out to do games, but like we want to do like a show where everyone kind of shows off their other talents and hobbies and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, I don't have any. Like I just make games. So I think I kind of just wanted to like, I don't know, branch out a bit, push myself. And there was also this feeling of just like okay, like I didn't actually leave expecting to finish, like to actually bike across the whole country. I left like, I'm gonna do a crazy long bike ride, ostensibly across America, but in my head I was like, like I don't know, it just seems impossible. Like I'm not a biker, I'm not an athlete, I've never done this before. Like obviously I'm not gonna make it, but the point is just like to see how far I can go and like see where my limits are, and just, I don't know, find out something about myself, and I don't know, just like live a different way for a bit. I don't know, just do something crazy, I don't know, like that. Like I guess some people will just travel to like Asia or something, but I did that instead.
You decided to take the much harder route. You're like, I'm gonna take a gigantic bike ride.
Yeah, that was what I did. But yeah, and then it did inspire Wandersong. So I guess it was like a really big life-changing experience kind of thing. So I guess I got what I wanted out of it.
Did you just like see something while riding, or just randomly? I mean, I imagine 5,000 mile bike ride, you definitely have a lot to think about. But anything specific that inspired Wandersong?
Not like, there wasn't like a moment where I was like, I gotta, like, I was on my bike and this thing happened and I was like, I gotta make Wandersong. That didn't happen, but there was like Wandersong was kind of came more from like the bigger vibe and feeling of that whole adventure, I guess I would say. Like the feeling on that trip was really like, it really to me reinforced like optimism. I think like the fact that I made it was just crazy, but the reason why I could was because like biking is actually not that, like long distance biking is not actually that hard. What makes it hard is like the mental aspect of it, like just staying on that road and just going forward, even when like it's hard and even when there's obstacles, and like realizing that I could do something that I just thought wasn't possible totally by like sheer force of will. Like that was kind of like a whoa, like I don't know, there's something to that. Like it was a really like empowering discovery, I guess, to make about myself and the world or something. And on top of that, like I went through a lot of places. Like, I mean, basically everywhere I went to, it was a place I'd never been to before. And I found myself like really often meeting strangers in unexpected places and just kind of like being the benefactor of like a lot of people's generosity, like just meeting lots of people, like staying with people, like getting rides from people, and like my bike would break down the side of the road and someone would stop and help me. Just like all these little interactions, kind of like, because I was living this really lonely experience, I kind of was really vulnerable in a way that made me like, I don't know, like I really noticed suddenly like how many other people were out there and how helpful and nice they were, basically. And that feeling was another really big thing that I think inspired Wandersong. Like just this feeling of like, hey, like maybe most people are actually pretty good, and like strangers are actually not that evil. They're actually really nice if you talk to them, and like most people are just friends you haven't made yet, something like that. So like that was like that vibe, and I'm sure that kind of comes through. Like that was a really big part of it that drove a lot of the kind of game design in Wandersong. Was just like those ideas and feelings about optimism and connectedness and being all this together and that kind of thing. That's what kind of got from the bike trip.
How long did it take you? Sorry I'm asking so many questions about your bike trip. I just saw that. I was like, that's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, it's it was 5 months, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a long time. I mean, you get used to it though. It's like at first it's kind of like, whoa, this is crazy, but then you kind of like adjust. It's just a different lifestyle, basically. Like you move to a different schedule, your day works differently than usual, and your morning routine's different. But then pretty much it's just like I wake up and I do this thing every day. And that kind of became normal.
Yeah, it's like a morning commute, but 5,000 miles for 5 months. Yeah. Never do.
I don't know if I could do that.
I definitely don't think I could either. You're like, oh yeah, it's easy riding a bike. I'm like, dude, I
didn't think I could either.
Minutes.
I didn't think I could either.
I'll take playing Wandersong for the optimistic message out of that ride, rather than the ride.
Yeah, sure. I guess
we're just gonna take the shortcut.
Yeah, that's like the smoothie. It's like it's all blended up, and you just get this nice little smooth drink of Wandersong, without all of the rough skin and cores and seeds.
Seeds? What?
I think that was a bad metaphor.
Oh, gotcha. I honestly thought for a second you were being literal.
Oh, no.
I was just like, yeah, no, there's a lot of seeds.
No.
There's a lot of plants in the U.S.
Well, there are actually, if you didn't know, but no, that's not what I was talking about.
So, I did just have like a couple more. I mean, since we're on the topic of seeds, how do you feel about candy corn?
Oh my god.
Thumbs down.
Is it terrible? Yeah, I'm gonna answer this question. I'm asking this question.
Thumbs
Josh,
down.
Thumbs
down.
I really need to know.
It's a thumbs down.
Thumbs down. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Candy corn sucks.
Yeah.
If anybody likes candy corn, they're just a crazy person.
I think it's okay to like it, but I just disagree with you. That's all.
There's that optimism. Yeah,
that positive message.
I had to ask. I can't really say a debate because he's mostly trounced, but there's a guy we write with at Parallax who thinks candy corn's good. He's like okay with candy corn.
Wait. I'm okay with candy corn. Like I'll eat it if it's there. Like I
What?
What?
I just think like if you put it next to pretty much any other candy, like it doesn't come out looking good. But like in a vacuum, yeah, like I'll eat candy corn. Like it's not like bad, I guess. I don't know. It's just candy's so good. It's like why would you have candy corn?
All right, follow-up question. Somebody pulls a random strand of licorice out of their pocket and a closed bag of candy corn. Which one are you gonna eat?
I would take the candy corn.
I
would take the candy corn.
What?
Yeah, I hate licorice. But I don't think I don't think licorice is bad. I know that people like it, and I think I respect that opinion. Like I'm sure like licorice like on the objective list is probably higher than candy corn. But for me personally, I like candy corn better than licorice. So yeah, that's where
What's
I'm at.
What's your favorite candy?
My favorite candy?
Yeah.
Oh man, right now I'm really into Cadbury mini eggs. If you know about those. Like I'm fucking crazy about them. Like with like the hard crunchy shell. Yeah. Oh my god. That's like I have a problem with those.
So somebody pulls a Cadbury mini egg out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Unwrapped. It's just kind of weird altogether. It's kind of melty.
Yeah.
Candy corn. Which one are you gonna eat?
Well, the melted mini egg for sure. I'm down for pocket food. I'm down for floor food. I'm down for all of it. Like my immune system is jacked up to 9,000. Like I'm not worried about that. I want that mini egg. That's where I'm at on that one. Yeah.
There's no judgment here, dude.
Yeah.
I eat pocket food all the time. No big deal. So since we're on the topic of your favorite things, what would you say your favorite video game is? Just in general.
Earthbound.
Do you have one?
My favorite, I say Earthbound is like my go-to answer for like favorite game ever. Yeah. It's not like I play it all the time or anything, but it's just like exists in my soul as like a thing that like I don't know. It's just there. It's just with me forever. So yeah, Earthbound.
Nice. That's a good answer. I actually recently just randomly got into Earthbound because watching like the history of videos for Earthbound, and I was like, what? This game is crazy. So of course, being myself, I had to go buy the physical stuff for it. So I bought like the amiibos of yeah, right? I bought the amiibos and everything.
Wow.
I had to. How do you feel about Undertale then? Because Undertale took like massive it was obviously inspired by Earthbound. Have you played it or?
Oh yeah, I played the shit out of it. It was an inspiration for Wandersong as well, for sure. I actually I was a really big fan of Homestuck for a long time. I knew about Toby Fox because he did music for Homestuck, and I saw his Kickstarter for Undertale back when he was doing it, and I actually before that I'd already done okay. I'm a really big Earthbound fan. I make RPGs inspired by Earthbound like all the time. I see Wandersong as kind of like in that lineage or whatever. But so like I had done like my big JRPG about Ghosts, Phantasmagoria, and that was like my like love letter to Earthbound game that I did, and it was like, you know, like a little like niche like RPG game that people played and whatever. And so when I saw Toby Fox did his Undertale Kickstarter, and I saw it was doing really well because like all these Homestuck people found it or whatever, and I said to myself, I remember, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna back this Kickstarter because I'm really worried that like his entire audience is going to be these people who found it through Homestuck, and then when his game comes out, like he's going to have a really hard time because no one really likes like niche Earthbound fan JRPGs anymore, and so it might not do that well, and he might like think that his Kickstarter is like, he might think because of his Kickstarter it's going to do really well, but I bet it won't. So I'm going to wait till the game comes out, and I'll buy it on day one to like support him on his launch day when like he really needs it. Because Kickstarter, it's like you get the money now, and then like 3 years later, it's like you're out of money, and you need the game launch to do well. So I was like, I'm gonna help him like when he needs it when the game comes out, because he already passed his goal and stuff. It was like, you know, like he definitely had enough to make the game. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Like that's gonna be like my solid for like the Undertale guy. And then I was like the most wrong I've ever been in my entire life about anything. in the long run, it turns out. But yeah, I played it. I could say I'm almost willing to say that I played it before it was cool, because I got it like right when like the minute it came out, and I played it like that day, and I was like, this is great. And then I was like, okay, cool. That was a great Earthbound fan game that I liked a lot. And then like a week later, it was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Everyone's just talking about it. You're like, well, that just happened.
Yeah, basically.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Undertale. I love a lot about it, and like what I love most about it, like, so I mean, I see it as a totally different kind of beast from Earthbound, but I really love how it marries like the storytelling and the gameplay a lot. Like that was something that I thought a lot about for like, that was like kind of like a, I don't know, like for Wandersong, like that was something I drew inspiration on a lot. Like that specifically, I was just like, oh, like I love like how they solved some of these problems, and I just like when I had like challenges in Wandersong, I would sometimes think about like, oh, like how would Undertale solve this kind of problem? Like what would they do to communicate this? And that sometimes helped me a lot.
For some reason, I didn't expect so much to go into a video game, but it makes so much more sense now. Right. Because there's the like whole topic coming up recently with Crunch and everything about how people don't necessarily know how video games are made, and they don't know the people behind them, and some people just don't want to know. They don't want that like curtain, I guess, pulled away. But yeah, hearing you talk about all these inspirations for Wandersong kind of blows my mind, because I'm like, wow, there's a lot that goes into making a game.
Yeah, there is. It's true.
You're like, yeah, that was obvious.
Yeah. I guess if you don't know, you don't know, but it's true. Like it is a lot of work. Yeah.
So something that I think Josh and I were both wondering is, since we're kind of like on the work of indie games, indie games in general, I don't know how hard it is to find somebody to publish your indie game, but how is it like being a part of Humble Bundle Studios? Like, could you tell us anything about that?
Well, it's been good for us, I'll say that. Like it's been like they helped us out a lot. The game wouldn't have come out on Switch without their help at all. And in fact, like they taught, like when like the whole process of working with them was like when there was a time when we were basically out of money, and I needed to find someone to help fund it. And at that time, I was not trying to do consoles like at all. I was because I didn't have any money and it cost a lot. So I was just like looking for like, I want somebody to just give me like, you know, like a little bit of money just to pay my rent for like 3 more months so I can finish this game and launch it on PC like I always wanted to, and that's it. Like easy, right? It should be easy. It's not that much, but it was really hard. And Humble was like, they worked with us really. They were basically just really awesome. They were really nice, and they gave us more than they basically like gave us more than we wanted to take, and then also helped us do a lot more than we were planning to do. So like the console port to go to Switch and all that was totally like happened because we published with them, and like I'm really grateful because yeah, the Switch sales are like this. Just in general, Switch has been like huge for our game. Like it's a huge part of what I think has been for like good for our audience and stuff. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And yeah, I mean like they're just they got lots of money. So
awesome.
Needed that. And like, it's nice having like, I guess like Humble compared to other publishers, like Devolver, for example, like Humble doesn't have the same kind of like clout or brand or label kind of like that Devolver does, or like Annapurna, for example. Like these are publishers that like have a really specific personality, and it's like a game comes out and you're like, oh, well, Devolver's publishing it, that must mean that it's good, you know? Like no one really has that for Humble necessarily, but like they have a lot of resources and connections and a lot of money. And so it was just like for what we needed, which is just like, I have this game, people already love it, like they're gonna love it no matter what, it doesn't really matter who publishes it, I just need resources to like do what I want to do, and they provided that in like spades. So that was good. Yeah.
All right then. Yeah, I actually didn't know that Humble Bundle like actually published games until seeing like the title screen of Wandersong, and it was like Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Like what the?
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff right there.
They've actually published a lot of games. Like they did Cultist Simulator. They published A Hat in Time.
Good game.
Yeah, like Wizard of Legend, I think. Like, and they're doing like Minico's Night Market. There's a lot of games floating around. Like, there's a lot of games you've probably heard of. Like, A Hat in Time is probably the biggest one I can think of, and like a lot of games that you probably haven't heard of. Like, they've been doing a lot of like I actually really appreciate and respect what they're doing. Like, they seem to be kind of picking a lot of weird games, like art games, and just like, I don't know, yeah, just games that are weird that like I wouldn't expect a publisher to go for, and they kind of go for it and they make those games happen and possible. And that's something I really appreciate about them, is like like they take like big popular games, and they also take like weird games. Like I think Wandersong is a really weird game. I mean, I didn't know if I realized that at first, but after talking to other publishers and kind of realizing where they were coming from, like I was grateful that Humble existed, basically, because like they're probably the only publisher, at least when we were looking at, that was like kind of willing to try something really weird, like to make a game that was like so just like such a weird gamble, basically, because they could. And I'm really grateful for that as well.
Did you talk to like a bunch of different publishers? You said like while talking to them you realized how weird it was. Did you go through like I don't know.
We talked to a number. Yeah. Like I mean, there were a few like right off like for example, Devolver is one we didn't talk to for reasons I think would be obvious. Like it's just right off the bat, it's like there's obviously that we're not a good fit for them because we're just so far from what they do. So like your
game's not sarcastic.
Yeah, it's not sarcastic, and there's no violence, and it's not like edgy or anything. I don't know. Like once I really started getting into it, just like, okay, like who would I work with on this game? Like the list was really, really small, like just right off the bat. And then like making a game that's different for other games, I guess that's just like part of the challenge of it, is like you're trying to like do something weird and new, and like there doesn't exist infrastructure for that. Like there's no publisher who makes Wandersong, right? I mean, now there is, but there wasn't before we made it. So
yeah, there aren't many publishers that are willing to roll the dice on something.
Yeah,
they want something like comfortable.
Yeah,
I guess
basically, yeah. So
well, I'm glad there's at least somebody out there rolling the dice.
Yeah, I am too.
That's pretty much all the questions I have for you today. I mean, I'm really happy about this interview. I learned a lot. Do you have any more questions, Josh?
No, I think we covered everything we wanted to go through.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I guess I have one last question. Have you ever tried a game called Laser League?
Oh my god.
Is it your favorite game ever?
Laser League?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Just the best game ever? What?
Oh,
it's crazy. It's just sweeping the nation. It's such a interesting game. It's a joke among us, but it was like a free PlayStation Plus game last month, and now it's just kind of become a thing. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview with us.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the questions, and thanks for letting me ramble for so long.
I actually really enjoy listening to people ramble, which is kind of an odd thing to enjoy. So you're welcome.
Cool.
I think I just found a best friend because you like physical media as much as I do. So
heyo.
Do you want to co-host this podcast with me and we can ditch Josh? He doesn't like physical
stuff. I guess I'm done, huh? That's all it took.
I'm really busy, unfortunately.
Damn it.
So I guess you're stuck with Josh. Yeah.
Oh damn.
I guess that makes sense. I gotta cross my fingers for that physical release of Wandersong, so I guess I can't recruit you to my Indie Games podcast. But well, yeah, thank you so much for being on. That's about all I have.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna head out then.
Yeah,
Sweet.
Sounds good. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for the interview, and good luck with the rest of the podcast.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
Bye bye.